All right. Joining me now, the great Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. Mike, good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's always so good to see you. And I played for the audience yesterday some of your remarks on Steve Bannon's War Room with a lot of fascination and a lot of interest. Set this up for us again. You went to the Justice Department recently and met with a bunch of the top officials there. What did you learn?
Well, I learned that my friends in the Justice Department, like Attorney General Pam Bondi and her Chief of Staff, Chad Mizell, and the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and his top deputy, Amel Bove, and great people like Gail Slater and Harmeet Dillon and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They are Stanley Woodward. President Trump has a rock solid team at the Justice Department, and they are doing really good work. And even if we don't see flashy headlines on good work, it's definitely happening. So
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I know people get anxious when you don't see screaming headlines, but I promise that there are good people doing great work.
I just want to dig in on kind of your thinking and who you are as you assess this, because you've never been shy about calling out people on your own side, for that matter, who are moving too slowly, who aren't administering justice the way it needs to be done. So in your discerning view, you go into that room, and did you enter with a different interpretation? Did you bring those same questions in, like, hey, what's happening here? Did you leave with a different point of view?
No, because I've been in regular contact with these people since before the inauguration. I know what's going on.
Got it.
I've worked in the Justice Department several times. I've worked in the White House. I've worked in the House. I've worked in the Senate. I know how government works. I know that you have to get people nominated and confirmed and set up before they can do anything, right? Otherwise, you have acting people there. And the President Trump has already done big things with his executive orders at the Justice Department, and Pam Bondi and Amel Bove and Todd Blanche and the others have done big things already at the Justice Department. And just one example, the Southern District of New York is this island in the justice system where they think that they report to nobody. Under our Constitution, federal prosecutors report to the Deputy Attorney General, who reports to the Attorney General, who reports to the President of the United States, who's elected by all Americans. But you have many of these federal prosecutors around the country and federal agents, particularly in the FBI, who don't think they report to anyone. And that has very much changed in the Southern District of New York. They call it the Sovereign District of New York because they think that they don't report to anyone. Well, Amel Bove went in and gave them an attitude adjustment on about day one. And remember Danielle Sassoon? You heard her name for about 3 minutes. She made her headlines. No one hears about Danielle Sassoon anymore because she's not working for the Trump administration.
So when you talk about the action that will be coming, when people think action, what they think is prosecutions. They think handcuffs, prosecutions. Is that what you're referring to?
Possibly. And I would say that there has to be systemic changes to the Justice Department, which is happening. They're cutting a lot of people out of the Justice Department. They're firing people. They're reassigning people. They're making the structural changes. So we're not playing whack-a-mole going forward. So or putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. And so they're actually going in and fixing the real systemic problems at main justice and at the various litigating divisions, and also at the FBI. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing a hell of a good job. And
so you're talking about you're getting to a key point, which is kind of the order of events. Because we started the show today with that New Mexico judge who had a Tren de Aragua member living in his house. And that's kind of an open and shut case. They found this guy. They knew he was Tren de Aragua. They knew he was living with the judge. There's all sorts of ludicrous evidence from like how the guy was living with them and holding guns and ridiculousness. And so they saw, okay, the guy violated the law. The judge and his wife were arrested yesterday. The FBI arrested these guys. And you're like, good, that's the kind of speed you want to see. What you're describing, the internal problems that are inside the Justice Department of the FBI, it sounds like what they have to do first is undertake reforms, and then we could see the prosecutions. Is that the kind of the order of events, the sequence?
You have to get rid of the deep state actors. If you don't get rid of the deep state actors, everything that they try to do is going to be whack-a-mole or a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. You have to get rid of the cancer in the body first, right? And that's what they're doing. This is chemotherapy. This is radiation. And this is so much more important than any one indictment or any one arrest. When you're making systemic changes, you're shocking the system at the
Yeah.
Justice Department, including the FBI, so you can get that deep state beast tamed, right?
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of people running to the press anymore because they're. I think Emil Bovee, if you just look, he's a friend of mine, but if you just look at the guy, he looks like a political serial killer. So I think Emil has done a very good job of reminding these Justice Department officials that
Yeah.
they work for the Deputy Attorney General, who works for the Attorney General, who works for the President, who's elected by all Americans.
So let me unfurl one of the things that has raised concern on the right, and I addressed this yesterday. I was talking about Dan Bongino and the efforts that they're undertaking, and I'm very happy with how aggressive the FBI has been on so many crimes. Recruitment is exploding. They're catching the top three of the top 10 most wanted. There's a lot of good indicators going on, but one thing that stands out is they promoted a guy called Steve Jensen in the Washington field office, who the right is very skeptical of, and for good reason, because he was a part of the crew that was going after parents at school board meetings and January 6 people. And so most of us on the outside are looking at that guy going, well, he's one of the abusers. How did he end up in a role like this? And I mentioned yesterday that on the very same date we found out that news, FBI Deputy Director Bongino posted, hey, if there are things that look like they're counterintuitive to our mission, you just have to trust that what we're doing in the end is the right thing. So basically, that's a long way of me asking you, Mike Davis, what do you make of moves like that, and what should we make of them?
I'm not familiar with that particular move, but I fully trust Kash Patel and Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
They're about as far away from deep state puppets as you can get. Remember when President Trump picked Kash Patel, everyone said he was dead on arrival. And then the Article 3 project had about, 250,000 phone calls into their home state senators and gave these senators an attitude adjustment.
Yeah.
In about 3 days, they went from dead on arrival to when can he start. So just look, give these guys the room they need to get the job done. They are making systemic changes.
Yes.
This is something that no Republican has done ever, and this is something that should have been done decades ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get the systems in place, once you build the car or rebuild the car, then you can drive the car.
Okay, last one on this, and then I want to ask you about judges real fast. And thank you as always for your time, Mike. So you think that this isn't too big for the president's team to handle? That this is not, it's not too entrenched for them to conquer?
No, and if there's any team that can do this, it's the team at the Justice Department now, President Trump's team now, with Pam and Todd and Chad and Emil,
Yeah,
and Stan and so many good people over there. Harmeet, Gail, Omid. There are so many good people in the Justice Department right now, and these are bold, serious reformers. I know all of them. They're my friends. I wouldn't vouch for them if I didn't think that they would do the job. I'm, like you said, Vince, I'm not exactly a quiet person, and frankly, I'm the most harsh with my criticism of people on our side because I have higher expectations for conservatives than I do for Marxists. I want Marxists to rot in hell. I want conservatives to succeed.
Amen. Okay, judges now. So I've been going down for whatever reason. Yesterday was a big day for a bunch of district judges to block President Trump's executive orders all across the country. And these are, you go down the list, they're all Democrat appointed judges, Obama judges, Clinton judges, Biden judges, obviously, including one yesterday, a judge who said that the president cannot make it so that you have to ask for proof of citizenship when registering to vote. The Democrat plaintiffs in the case, including Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they say this will damage them. They will damage their ability to be reelected if you have to prove you're a citizen to register to vote. They're giving the whole game away. What can we do about these judges, Mike? What can we do about these guys who keep interfering?
Well, the best thing that you hear about voter ID is that somehow it's discrimination against black people. Like black people don't have the wherewithal to get a driver's license or a government ID like the rest of Americans. Like we just need white liberals to save them. Hey, go find a black friend, liberals, and take them to the driver's license place, and then help them get a driver's license because they don't have the wherewithal to get it, according to these Democrats. I mean, what a racist, just bad faith argument they're making. It's clear what they want. They want illegal immigrants that they're mass importing into this country, 15 million of them.
Yeah.
They want them to register to vote and vote Democrat, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole plan with this. This is why they've opposed voter ID. This is why they opposed the SAVE Act. I would say to these judges, these activist judges, stay in your lane. Your job is to decide cases and controversies of the parties before your court with redressable claims. Nothing more, nothing less. You have a really important job. It's a crucial job, but it's a modest job. That's your Article 3 standing. That's your Article 3 power. When these judges take off their judicial robes, and they do one of two things. They either put on their capes, they think they're superheroes, these narcissists who get to fly around and save everyone.
Yeah.
Even some of these Republican justices do this from time to time. Maybe even my old boss does this from time to time. Superhero Neil Gorsuch or General Gorsuch does it from time to time. Not as much as the Democrats, but General Gorsuch does it from time to time too. I mean, he plays a wonderful superhero. Like last Good Friday, he did that. But I would also say judges wear robes, not capes, and if judges take off their judicial robes and climb into the political arena and throw political punches, expect to receive a political knockout from the article.
So here's what I want to know. Why isn't the United States Supreme Court jumping in right away to stop all of these abuses? Because, I know earlier this year, Chief Justice Roberts was lecturing President Trump. He was like, hey, don't you dare call for the impeachment of district judges. Like, let the appeals process play out. And then this past weekend, as you just noted, the Supreme Court jumped the whole appeals process to try and gum up the president's immigration agenda. And so now it's a perfect opportunity. The Supreme Court could step up here, couldn't they, Mike?
They could if they wanted to. And this is at the doorstep of the Chief Justice, John Roberts, or Commanding General John Roberts, as we saw last Friday, because we had seven, as you just mentioned, Vince, on Friday, we had 7 Supreme Court justices who ran in and enjoined the President of the United States. I think for the first time in American history, you cannot enjoin the President. You can enjoin lower officers. You cannot enjoin the President. They enjoined the President of the United States and told him that he cannot continue with an ongoing military operation to deport the worst terrorists of the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Apparently, the president's not the commander-in-chief anymore. He has to get permission from these 7 generals on the Supreme Court. And they did this before the district court ruled, before the Fifth Circuit ruled, before the Solicitor General submitted the government's position on this. I mean, again, these are not judges in robes. These are narcissist superheroes wearing capes.
Yeah. And so, but the Supreme Court could bring these district judges to heel if it wanted to.
Well, I mean, I think they're part of the problem, as we just saw on Good Friday. And so who needs to bring them to heel? Who needs to bring the whole federal judiciary to heel is Congress. They need to cut the spending. They need to have oversight hearings. I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I had the oversight portfolio for the federal judiciary. Judges don't think they're subject to oversight, so haul their asses in for oversight just to prove that you have that power, Congress. Cut their funding, cut their jurisdiction, make their lives living hell until they get back in their life.
I have a crazy idea. Trump should threaten to court pack until they start behaving.
100%. I think that's a great idea, Vince. What do we have, 9 now? And we have 7 of them who are narcissistic Looney Tunes who think they can join the president. So it sounds like we need 6 more.
FDR did it. That was the whole idea. FDR threatened to pack the court.
15 justices. Yeah. So we'll have 8 justices who will follow the Constitution, and then 7 narcissistic Looney Tunes who think they're going to go save rapists and murderers in El Salvador. So they can moonlight as the commanding generals and the ACLU lawyers to go save MS-13 gangbangers. Maybe those 7 can get the MS-13 tattoos on their knuckles for solidarity.
Yeah, baby.
But for the other 8, so that after we pack the court, the 8 who are going to follow the Constitution, we can actually get things done.
At least we have Thomas and Alito still. I love those guys. Hey, thank you very, very much, Mike Davis with the Article 3 Project, sir. Always good to talk to you, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, be well. That's Mike Davis. Thank you again to him.